Rain painted delicate ripples across the windows of the town library, soft enough to calm the world, yet steady enough to make anyone feel like they were meant to be indoors. Kiki sat tucked into a corner by the window, legs curled under her, surrounded by the scent of paper and ink. She held a hardcover copy of Moonlight Garden against her chest, her favorite book for the fourth time this year. Kiki wasn't like most girls her age. While others spent their afternoons shopping or gossiping over snacks, Kiki found joy in silence, words, and wonder. Her heart beat a little faster whenever she turned the fragile yellowing pages of a storybook, as if she were stepping into a secret realm that only she and the characters could understand. That afternoon, as she flipped to the back of the book to check the borrowing card, out of simple curiosity, her eyes paused. There, scribbled in careful handwriting across the last few borrow dates, was a name, Ren Aozora. Something about the name struck her. It wasn't just the uniqueness of it, it was the fact that she'd seen it before. She frowned thoughtfully and reached into her tote bag, pulling out 3 other books she'd borrowed the week before. She quickly flipped to the back of each one. Ren Aozora, Ren Aozora, Ren Aozora. Her fingers trembled slightly as she laid the cards side by side on the table. What in the world? She whispered. Kiki, still camping out in your reading cave? Came a cheerful voice behind her. It was Yuna, her best friend, dripping wet from the rain, holding a soda and a plastic umbrella. Kiki didn't respond right away. She was staring at the names as if they were secret messages. Kiki? Yuna leaned in. You okay? Kiki finally turned to her. You won't believe this, she said. Every single book I've borrowed in the last month was borrowed by the same person before me. Yuna blinked. So? That's weird, but not exactly scary. But don't you get it? Kiki said, her eyes wide. What are the chances that someone reads the exact same books, in the same order, just before I do? It's like, we have the same thoughts. Yuna shrugged. Maybe it's just a librarian reshuffling thing? Or maybe this Ren Aozora person has awesome taste, like you. Kiki's heart fluttered a little. She'd never thought of herself as someone with taste, just someone with quiet thoughts and a love for beautiful things. But I want to know who he is, Kiki said softly, almost to herself. Yuna raised an eyebrow. He, huh? You're guessing it's a guy? Kiki blushed. It sounds like a guy's name, doesn't it? Yuna grinned. You're blushing. Oh my gosh, you are totally falling for a name. No, I'm not, Kiki defended. But even as she said it, she looked back at the cards. The way the letters in his name curved, how the ink seemed pressed a little deeper than the others. It made her heart whisper something she couldn't explain. That night, Kiki couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her heart buzzing with questions. Who was Ren Aozora? Why did he borrow all those same books? Was he still in the town? What if they met? The next day, she went back to the library and politely asked the librarian, Mrs. Now, do you happen to remember a person named Ren Aozora? Mrs. Now, a sweet woman in her 50s with half-moon glasses and a quiet voice, looked thoughtful. Ren? Yes, I remember him. Very polite boy. Loved classical novels and fairy tales. Kiki's heart skipped. Do you know where he lives? Mrs. Now smiled kindly. I'm afraid I can't give out personal details like that, sweetheart. Privacy rules. Oh, right, Kiki said, deflated. But she didn't give up. Instead, she decided to investigate quietly, piecing together whatever small traces she could find. She reread every book he'd borrowed, looking for underlines, pencil marks, or even folded page corners, anything that might connect her to him. And strangely, she began to feel like she knew him. Or at least, the kind of soul he was. Then she left the library and while walking across the street, it stared at her with sharp green eyes, then leapt down and trotted purposefully across the road, right in front of her. Hey, she whispered, curious. The cat paused, then continued walking, glancing back as if urging her to follow. Drawn by impulse, Kiki stood up and followed it. Down the narrow path behind the library, through an alley lined with old buildings, and finally to a quiet street she didn't recognize. And there it was. A dusty little antique shop she had never noticed before. The cat scratched at the door, which creaked open ever so slightly. Kiki hesitated, then stepped inside. Inside, the room smelled of old wood and mystery. Clocks ticked gently on every wall. Glass cases held tiny sculptures, old music boxes, silver keys, and marionettes frozen in dance. Hello? she called out. From behind the counter emerged an elderly man with round spectacles and a gentle smile. Welcome, he said warmly. Not many your age come into places like this. I followed your cat, Kiki stammered. He chuckled. Ah yes, that's Moon. She always brings the interesting ones. Kiki's eyes wandered around the shop. And then, she saw it. A wooden statue of a cat wearing a top hat, sitting elegantly on a velvet cushion. Her heart jumped. That statue, she whispered. It's exactly like the one in Whispers of the Clock Tower. That's one of the books Ren borrowed. The man's eyes sparkled. So you know that story? I've read it 5 times, she said, her voice soft with awe. He nodded thoughtfully. That statue was carved by my grandson. He loved that story too. Kiki's breath caught. Your grandson, is his name Ren Aozora? The old man smiled gently. Yes, that's him. Kiki stood frozen. The name had led her here. The books had whispered to her. And now, standing in the middle of a forgotten antique shop, she had just taken the first real step toward the boy whose words had echoed through her world. The antique shop felt like it belonged in a storybook, silent, timeless, and soaked in wonder. Kiki stood speechless for a moment, her eyes tracing the shelves lined with wooden figures, clocks, and delicate glass figurines. The old man, Mr. Toshiro, he introduced himself, watched her with a kind expression. So you know my grandson through his books? Kiki nodded, still unsure how much to say. Kind of. I noticed that all the books I borrow from the library were borrowed by him before. I didn't know who he was, but his name kept showing up, and then, it led me here. Mr. Toshiro's eyes twinkled. I think you're the first person who's ever found their way here because of library cards. Kiki blushed. I guess I got curious. Curiosity, Mr. Toshiro said, walking behind the counter and setting down a worn wooden box, is the beginning of most beautiful stories. Kiki smiled at that. He opened the box carefully, revealing a stack of notebooks, their covers scuffed and edges curled. Ren used to write a lot. Before he left, he asked me to hold on to these for him. Kiki's breath caught. He's not here? Mr. Toshiro shook his head. He's in the mountains now, near Takayama, studying violin making. Violin making? That felt like something out of a novel too. He always said music had a shape, like wood. Something you could carve into. Just like stories, the old man said. Do you think he'd mind if I read some of it? Kiki asked, glancing down at the notebooks like they were treasure chests. Mr. Toshiro paused thoughtfully, then slid one across the counter. I think he'd be honored. Kiki sat on a velvet stool near the corner of the shop, the afternoon light dripping through the stained glass window. She opened the notebook slowly, fingers trembling. On the inside page was a drawing, inked in delicate lines, of the cat statue in the top hat, with stars swirling above it. Below, in neat handwriting. To the dreamers who listen. Stories aren't made up, they're remembered. She blinked back a sudden tear. It was as if someone had reached into her own heart and written her thoughts for her. Flipping through the pages, she found poems, story snippets, and even detailed thoughts on the books he'd read. Some of the very same ones she had borrowed. In Moonlight Garden. I wonder if the real garden is the one inside her. Maybe we're all just trying to grow flowers where the world expects walls. She smiled. That was exactly what she had felt reading it too. Every page felt like a conversation. Like she had been talking to Ren all along, just without words. When it was time to leave, she placed the notebook gently back in the box. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't know someone else could see the world like I do. Mr. Toshiro studied her with quiet fondness. I think you and Ren are not just similar in what you read, but in how you see. That's a rare thing. That evening, walking home through quiet streets lit by fading amber light, Kiki felt something shift within her. She no longer felt like just a quiet girl in the back of a classroom. There was a voice in her that mattered. Someone who thought like her, dreamed like her, existed. And maybe, just maybe, she didn't need to hide her stories anymore. The next morning, she took out a blank notebook and wrote across the first page in bold, hopeful letters. Whispers Between Pages. A story by Kiki Minami. She didn't know exactly what it would be about yet. But she knew it would be filled with wonder, books, music, and a cat in a top hat. Most of all, it would be about 2 people who found each other through the quiet magic of shared dreams. That afternoon, she met Yuna at their favorite corner cafe, the one with mismatched chairs and fairy lights. Yuna sipped her peach soda and stared at her. Wait, you found the guy? Like, actually found him? Well, not him exactly, Kiki said, but I found his grandfather. And his notebooks. Yuna leaned in like they were in a spy movie. So, what's he like? Mysterious and poetic? Handsome? Does he play piano in the dark? Kiki laughed. I don't know what he looks like. But his words, they're kind. Deep. Like he listens to everything, even silence. Yuna raised a brow. You've got it bad. Kiki sighed, smiling. I don't even know him. But it feels like I do. Yuna looked at her friend for a long moment. I think this is good, Kiki. I've never seen you this alive before. Kiki nodded, gently placing her hand on her notebook. I want to write something real. Something that could maybe reach someone the way his words reached me. Then do it, Yuna said, her voice soft but certain. Write like you're writing to him. And so, Kiki did. Every evening, in the soft glow of her desk lamp, she wrote about a girl who chased a cat through a rainstorm and stumbled into a forgotten shop where time stood still. She wrote about library books, hidden notes, violin music, and a name that echoed in her heart before she ever heard it spoken aloud. And as the pages filled, so did something inside her. Confidence, wonder, hope. Weeks passed, and then one day, as she walked by the antique shop, Mr. Toshiro stepped out and waved her in. I have something for you, he said, holding a small envelope. Kiki took it, heart racing. Inside was a single sheet of paper with handwriting she'd never seen in person, but knew by soul. To the girl who sees between the lines, thank you for reading my thoughts. I've read yours now too, and I think we're writing the same story. Kiki pressed the paper to her heart. She didn't know when she'd meet Ren. But now she believed, more than ever, that they were already connected. By books, by dreams, by whispers between pages. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.